Part 145. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1441. Master, just give me your orders. Zhou Gun put away his gun and stood up straight. Go to Dao King City. Give this talisman to Sun Qiniang. After that, Zhu Yun took out a talisman paper from his ring and drew a sound transmission talisman. The reason why he gave it to Sun Qiniang was because there were only 3 cultivators there, Sun Qiniang, De Go and Tu Yu. Among the 3, Sun Qiniang was the strongest. Sun Qiniang. Zhou Gun was stunned. He had never heard of this name. Yes, just give it to her. She is a female cultivator. Just say that I asked you to go there. Zhu Yun handed over the talisman paper. Yes, master, I will go now. Don't worry, Zhu Yun continued, when the time comes, you just need to listen to Sun Qiniang's orders for the time being. Get familiar with her. In the future, there will be benefits for you. Zhou Gun didn't care about the benefits. He nodded and flew away with his gun. At this time, the Snake Demon King had recovered from his injuries, turned into a human form, and flew up from below. Master, fortunately you killed this refining void stage, otherwise. She knew everything about the previous fight, but she couldn't get away because of the power of destiny of the snake head pillar. It doesn't matter, as long as you recover, there is another foreign demon below, we will continue to wait here for a while, who knows, there will be another hard fight. What, foreign demon? The Snake Demon King's face changed, and his pretty face suddenly turned pale. You know what? Seeing the Snake Demon King's reaction, Zhu Yun's heart moved, and he asked immediately. Master, do you know why we lost our minds? Zhu Yun was stunned and said in surprise, is it related to the extraterritorial demons? Yes, the Snake Demon said with a serious face, according to the inherited memory in my mind, when the Qingping fairyland was broken, countless extraterritorial demons were left here, so the heavenly Dao was broken and they could not lead the demonic energy of the fairyland back. Some extraterritorial demons died, but some extraterritorial demons with strong adaptability survived. As time went by, some of them hid to avoid the influence of this heavenly Dao, while others who could not hide reproduced with some of our Tianming demon clan members and used the demonic energy to influence the judgment of heavenly Dao. These, we call them demon beasts. In terms of individual strength, any of our demon clans can hardly deal with extraterritorial demons. Extraterritorial demons are extremely cunning. They first took the young of our demon clan to reproduce and expand their demon beast population. However, among the demon beasts, they often after tens of thousands of years of fighting and reproduction, there are not many monsters left, and they basically hide in the broken immortal river. After evolution, the monsters are not very harmful, at least to our demon race. But in the Qingping Immortal Kingdom, there is also a kind of extraterritorial demon, and no one knows where they are. This kind of extraterritorial demon is not strong in combat, but it uses magical means to make us lose our minds and control our minds. If it weren't for the Fate Beast monument that woke us up this time, I'm afraid I wouldn't know the past. Zhu Yun frowned and said, you mean, do you still remember before your memory was controlled? Yes, the Snake Demon King nodded and said, that kind of extraterritorial demon can find the weaknesses in our hearts, and then use magic to hit the bottom of our hearts. I remember that the extraterritorial demon once said that people have 7 sins, and demons also have them. 7 sins. Zhu Yun's heart jumped suddenly, and he thought of the nightmare demon that he had encountered in all the mortal worlds. Aren't nightmare demons taking advantage of human weaknesses? Moreover, the nightmare demon in the eastern mortal realm also started from the Dongsheng realm to bewitch and use the 12 major demon tribes. Could it be that the nightmare demon is an extraterritorial demon? What is the name of the extraterritorial demon? A trace of fear flashed in the eyes of the Snake Demon King, and he spat out 2 words, Nightmare Demon. Zuyun took a breath of cold air. If you think about it carefully, the broken immortal river of Qingping Immortal Kingdom will eventually flow to Dongsheng Realm and become the pregnant river of the Rabbit clan's ancestral land. Perhaps, the Nightmare Demon appeared in Dongsheng Realm since then. So, does Qingping Immortal Kingdom have other passages leading to the other 3 mortal realms? But soon, Zuyun threw this idea out of his mind. Now that Qingping Immortal Kingdom has been sucked into the great universe world, even if there is, it is probably not so easy to get out. Moreover, after coming to Qingping Immortal Kingdom for so long, it is the first time to hear the information of the Nightmare Demon. As long as Qingping Immortal Kingdom is completely integrated into it, it will become a part of the great universe world at that time. It will not be so easy to get out. Zuyun immediately sorted out the priorities, and then said, are the rest of the demons also under the control of the Nightmare Demon? It's mainly the Nightmare Demon, the Snake Demon said with certainty. The master told me that he encountered several beast tides. In fact, these beast tides only came from the Nightmare Demon's land that controlled us. But, I can't remember where the Nightmare Demon hides. Zuyun thought for a while and asked, are all the demons in Qingping Fairyland under the control of the Nightmare Demon? Not really, said the Snake Demon King, it's just that the demons near Duxian Town are under control. Qingping Fairyland is vast and boundless, and I don't know if there are nightmare demons in other places. And now, the only known extraterritorial demons that still exist here are the nightmare demons, and there is no other news. So, do you think the one below is the nightmare demon? Zuyun can be sure of this. The extraterritorial demon has no characteristics of the nightmare demon at all. Whether its appearance or behavior style. If Lengbing hadn't felt the demonic energy, he really didn't know that there was a nightmare demon hidden under the ground. It was fortunate that the water incarnation brought him here, otherwise his original body would have suffered a great loss and might even die here. The Snake Demon King could not help but ask, the outer demon below, is not the nightmare demon? No, Zuyun shook his head and said, so, let's put the matter of the nightmare demon aside for now. As long as the Qingping Fairyland and the great universe world are completely connected, no matter what outer demon it is, it will not be able to escape. Yes, Master. Hearing Zuyun's resolute tone, the Snake Demon King was also very excited. They are the Destiny Demon clan, but they are used by the Nightmare Demon and continue to kill and die. I thought there was no hope of revenge, and she never mentioned it. But I didn't expect Zuyun to be so determined. It is a blessing for my clan to meet the Master. Since it is not the Nightmare Demon, can you still recognize the outer demon below? Zuyun thought about it, and then told the Snake Demon King all the information about the outer demon below. The Snake Demon King pondered for a long time, thought about it, and said, Master, if my guess is correct, the extraterritorial demon should be a Thorn Demon. Thorn Demon. The Snake Demon King reported the name, and Zuyun was immediately delighted and asked, is this Thorn Demon difficult to deal with? The Snake Demon King smiled bitterly and said, Master, the memories I inherited are not very complete. I only know that the Thorn Demon seems to be timid by nature. It usually doesn't attack, but if it attacks, it will kill people. Therefore, I don't really understand the attributes of this demon. As soon as the voice fell, there was a movement under the crack in the ground. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1442. Wish you fellow Taoist, I'm back. A pure demonic energy came, and Zuyun was immediately happy and heard a cold voice. He looked back and saw that the monster he had fought with earlier was obediently lying next to him. Surrendered. Zuyun raised his eyebrows and asked. Ha ha ha, not only did I surrender, but the demon energy in its body helped me completely recover from my injuries. Given time, Len will be able to return to his peak. Zuyun squinted his eyes, feeling something was wrong, but it was hard to say anything. As long as Leng Bing proves that he is trustworthy for now. Now that fellow Daoist Leng has recovered, what are your next plans? Leng Bing was stunned for a moment and asked doubtfully, fellow Taoist Zhu, are you trying to drive me away? Not really. Knowing that Leng Bing had misunderstood, Zhu Yun explained with a smile, next, I may fight all the way, and I will definitely encounter many strong enemies, so I asked fellow Daoist Leng what he meant. Of course Leng is following you. Leng Bing said without hesitation, if I hadn't met you in Lingjian sect, Leng wouldn't have had this opportunity. Not to mention recovering from his injuries, he would have ended his path to immortality. We demon cultivators have clear grievances, and you will if you have been very kind to me, then I will naturally have to repay the favor before I can leave. Zhu Yun was dumbfounded. He still had nothing to say. The incarnation of water did not know the situation of Qingping Fairy Kingdom and brought him into it. And he wants to open up the Qingping Immortal Kingdom and the great universe world. In this way, Leng Bing will be contaminated by the heavenly way of the great universe world. If he returns to the spirit world, it may not be so easy for him to break the shackles of the heavenly way. That's fine, then you and I can go together. After thinking about it, Zhu Yun agreed. Where shall we go next? Leng Bing was a little eager to give it a try. When he followed the water incarnation, he saw King Dawang City from a distance. Wait a minute, I have sent people to Dao King City to ask all the demon saints over there to come over. Leng Bing thought for a moment and said, that's good. The more people there are, the more powerful it is. Let me tell you something, this world is indeed a bit weird. Not to mention having enough spiritual power, we can actually find this ancient monster. As he spoke, he patted the thorn demon's body as if stroking a dog. Ancient monster. Zhu Yun didn't understand this title. Shouldn't it be an extraterrestrial demon? Yes, ancient magical beasts, Leng Bing said with a cold smile. Friend Zhu doesn't know, but the demonic skills I practice are actually derived from an ancient book in the fairy world. In addition to the cultivation methods, the book also teaches the method of controlling magical beasts. This is why Leng was able to control this monster. And this monster's behavior and ability to control the demonic energy are exactly the same as those of the ancient monsters introduced in the book. Zhu Yun was thoughtful, and then said, have you ever introduced ancient magical beasts to your skills? Of course there is. Leng Bing didn't know that Zhu Yun wanted to inquire about the relationship between the demons in the fairy world and the demons outside the realm. He nodded and said, it is said that the ancient monsters came from the demon realm. Of course, we and other monks in the lower world don't understand. Where does the demonic realm belong to the immortal realm? However, it is said in the technique that there is an authentic demonic way in the demonic realm. After our demonic cultivators ascend, if our strength and talent are strong enough, we may ascend to the demonic realm and become a true demonic immortal. Demon fairy. These two words seemed to remind Zhu Yun. His eyes darkened and he thought of a possibility. Could this also be a conspiracy? The conspiracy of the demons in the fairy world? There are all kinds of monks in the human race, and there are not a few who practice the demonic way. However, he is not a demonic cultivator himself, so he always thought that after the demonic cultivator ascended, he would also become an immortal in the fairy world. But there are several types of immortals, but he doesn't know. Regarding demonic cultivation, he only knows so far that the demonic cultivation methods are demonic cultivation methods that have been modified to suit human physiques. Whether Zhu Yun heard about it or spread it in the spiritual world, this is the saying. But what Leng Bing practiced was the magic power passed down from the immortal world. Well, he practices demonic skills, so why do he have different names for extraterrestrial demons? If this is the case, the relationship between the demon clan and the extraterrestrial demons is not shallow. Thinking of this, Zhu Yun couldn't help but become nervous. The demon clan must be brewing a big conspiracy. According to the Immortal Emperor, the exit where the extraterrestrial demon appears is very close to the sea of chaotic stars where the demons gather. Perhaps, this hole was made by the demons. Friend Zudeo, what are you thinking of? Lengbing was also experienced. When he saw Zuyun's uncertain expression, he immediately asked. I'm wondering if your magic skills are different from those of other magic cultivators. Zuyun didn't shy away and said it bluntly. That's for sure, Lengbing suddenly beamed and said, I got this from the Immortal Ruins. Immortal Ruins? In Kunlun? No, Lengbing shook his head and said with a smile, there are countless great powers in Kunlun. If there are those relics, how can it be my turn? This is naturally obtained in the mortal world, but it is not the East mortal world, but the northern mortal world. Glancing at Zuyun, Lengbing continued, actually, I originally wanted to go to the North mortal realm, but who would have thought that when I went into the water at the seaside of the northern icefield, I ended up inexplicably ending up in the Eastern mortal realm. This is because I didn't thought of it. Zuyun curled his lips and said, the four mortal realms all belong to the wild sea, so they are naturally connected. What? Lengbing was stunned for a moment. He actually didn't know much about the positions of the mortal world and the spiritual world, and Zuyun's words naturally shocked him. Yes, the four mortal realms are named after the four directions, guarding the spiritual realm in the center. Think about it, no matter which mortal realm you are in, there are wild seas, and even the spiritual realm also has it. Isn't this normal? Zuyun spread his hands, as if he was talking about something ordinary, but in Lengbing's heart, it stirred up a storm. In other words, if we pass through the wild sea, we can actually reach any mortal world. Hearing that Lengbing's tone was wrong, Zuyun asked, why, do you still want to return to Bifan realm? Back then, I was not strong enough, so I only found this skill among the immortal ruins. But in fact, I only explored 1/10 of the ruins. Originally, I thought that I would go there when I reached the stage of transcending tribulation. We went to the Bay mortal realm, but then the evil cultivator was born and we were forced to hide in Kunlun to practice hard. Who would have thought that we would encounter the evil cultivator again? Lengbing had a wry smile on his face, his expression full of helplessness. Zuyun raised his eyebrows and said, where are those ruins in the Bifan realm? Fellow deist Leng, you also know. I have also been to the Bifan realm and have good relations with the Lu family. The Lu family, I know, is a big family in the Bifan world. Lengbing nodded and said, that fairy trail is in the far north of the northern icefield. If you want to go, we can go and explore together when things happen in the spiritual world. According to my guess, there may be fairy weapons there. I originally wanted to find an immortal weapon after the tribulation period to help me ascend. Upon hearing the fairy weapon, Zuyun's eyes suddenly lit up. He really lacks the magic weapon to take advantage of now. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1443. Zuyun was also moved by the memory of the terrifying power of the Blood Moon in the Ascension Secret Realm, where a single immortal weapon held up a world. Although the Blood Moon is a magic weapon, in Zuyun's understanding, the magic weapon is comparable to an immortal weapon. The Blood Moon magic weapon can not only enhance Lin Yu's strength, but can also support an entire demon sect, which shows how powerful the magical weapon is. Likewise, take a look at Zuyun's cosmic glazed mirror. Even though it is now divided into two completely different spaces, the Great Universe and the Great Universe, it is evident from the fact that the Great Universe world can form its own world. Zuyun said it was a lie if he said he was not moved. Fellow deist Leng, Zuyun said in a deep voice, if there is a magic weapon in that immortal trace, you can get it. But if it is an immortal weapon? Leng Bing said, the immortal weapon will naturally belong to you. It would be a waste for me to ask for the immortal weapon. The two reached a consensus in this way. It just so happened that Ergu and a few others came back with the Spirit Stone Demon Dragon and some immortals from Dao King City, and met Zhu Yun. Xiao Zhu, you seem somewhat different. Ergu looked up and down, but never glanced at Leng Bing. Zhu Yun smiled and said, you are a little different too. Have you made a breakthrough? I have given fatal blows to many people in the void refining stage. No matter how stupid they have gained something. Ergu touched his head sheepishly and showed an honest smile. But at this time, Leng Bing said meaningfully, is this fellow Taoist Ergu also a demon cultivator? Senior, do you have any advice? Ergu looked stern and couldn't help but clench the long knife in his hand. In fact, he had been paying attention to Leng Bing. The other party's realm was extremely high and he couldn't see through it, which meant that he was at least in the stage of becoming a god. I'm afraid that Leng Bing will control Zhu Yun and then want to make a difference. Fellow Taoist Ergu, please don't misunderstand me. Leng Bing naturally saw Ergu's thoughts and expressed his kindness. I am fighting side by side with fellow Taoist Zhu, so don't worry. Ergu looked at Zhu Yun with an inquiring look. After receiving the affirmation of their childhood code, he felt relieved and smiled at Leng Bing. Senior, this junior is of low level and has just experienced a fight. Something is wrong. Zhu Yun joked, okay, do you know how to use idioms? Xiao Zhu, although my talent is not obvious, I will not rest on my laurels. Zhu Yun laughed loudly, and then said, fellow Daoist Leng, what do you want to say about Ergu being a demon cultivator? Leng Bing smiled and said, if Leng's guess is correct, fellow Taoist Ergu should be practicing a magic technique that is not suitable for him, right? This kind of technique is more suitable for female cultivators, so that will cause fellow Daoist Ergu to practice. The progress is extremely slow. It's even far from possible to find a way to break through the nascent soul. Hearing this, Ergu and Zhu Yun couldn't help but trembled. Ergu accidentally practiced the Yoluo demonic skill, but it was extremely difficult to break through the foundation building stage at that time. In the end, he took the so-called transformation pill and became a female cultivator, and was able to practice past the foundation building stage. Since then, cultivation has gone smoothly. But ever since he broke through to the nascent soul stage, he has never been able to reach the threshold of the next realm. Now that I heard what Leng Bing said, I naturally felt something move in my heart. Before Ergu asked, Zhu Yun was even more anxious than him, fellow Daoist Leng, is there any solution? The other party is in the stage of transcending tribulation and has a broader vision. Let me think about it, Leng Bing said thoughtfully. Actually, there is an inappropriate description. The magic skills practiced by Leng can be regarded as orthodox magic skills. If fellow Taoist Ergu has no other ideas, Leng wants to know the cultivation method of fellow Taoist Ergu, find the flaws in it, and then solve this problem. Zhu Yun looked at Ergu and heard him say, Yuluo's magic power is not a secret. Now that the mortal world is peaceful, Senior Luo doesn't care much about it. Zhu Yun suddenly said with joy, that's great. You guys have a nice exchange. I and a group of people will watch it for you. Xiao Zhu, thank you for your trouble. Ergu was moved, knowing that Zhu Yun would definitely owe Leng Bing a favor by doing this. Although I don't know what their relationship is like, it is for myself after all. Brothers, your politeness is a bit too much. Zhu Yun smiled and patted Ergu on the shoulder. Just as he was about to talk to Yu Changkong about how to deal with the Great King City, a figure from the distance rushed towards him. Ergu, you miss me so much. The two dogs were overjoyed and looked towards the visitor. The round head is particularly obvious. Who else could it be if it weren't a big dog? He laughed, spread his hands, and waited for the big dog to pounce, shouting, me too. The two hugged each other tightly, and they made an appointment to go to the spirit world together, but they never met in the spirit world. On the contrary, they have all met Zuyun or Zuyun's incarnation. The two of them patted each other on the back and laughed to the point of tears. Senior brother Joe, I haven't seen you for a long time. Your strength has also improved a lot. At this time, Sun Qiniang also spoke softly. Ergu raised his head. Junior sister is even more extraordinary. I can't even tell you have reached this level, so I have to call you senior. Senior brother Joe, please don't call me that, I'm afraid my life will be shortened. Sun Qiniang said with a smile, meeting old friends naturally makes her heart full of warmth. Okay, Zuyun came out to smooth things over and said, Ergo and fellow Daoist Leng are discussing cultivation matters. Since you are here, we can discuss together how to control the Wang city. Speaking of business, everyone suddenly became serious. Leaving Ergu and Leng Bing here, Zuyun led everyone all the way deep into the woods. It wasn't until King De Wang city was not far away that he stopped. I just briefly talked about the teleportation talisman that Zhou Guang brought over. Zuyun picked up some relevant information, told everyone in detail, and made a clear goal, to help the Immortal Emperor pacify the Qingping Immortal Kingdom. After the Immortal Emperor learned that Luo Dongcheng turned out to be an evil cultivator from the spirit world, his face became extremely ugly. If it weren't for Zuyun, let alone the Qingping Immortal Kingdom falling into human hands, I'm afraid all the Immortals would be in ruins. Even though I was talking about key points, I still talked about it for a full hour. The sun sets and the sky becomes dark. Immortal Emperor, it is estimated that King De Wang city has little fighting power. How about you take action and control King De Wang city? Zuyun looked at the Immortal Emperor and asked for his opinion. I'd better listen to you, the Immortal Emperor sighed and said, the Imperial city will definitely fall into human hands, and the few descendants of my Ji family must also die cleanly. Now, I am so confused that I am afraid we'll make wrong decisions. Zuyun's eyes flashed. His original intention was to help the Immortal Emperor to pacify the Qingping Immortal Kingdom, and then have a showdown with him about the Immortal Kingdoms belonging to the Great Universe. But at this time, he actually let himself make the decision? It's not that I'm afraid of overstepping my authority, but I'm afraid that it will cause unnecessary trouble later. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1444. As far as we know, the great immortal kings do not necessarily continue to guard the imperial city. So I plan to, after capturing King De Wang city, lead my elite troops to the imperial city and wait until those immortal kings attack the city. Zuyun expressed his thoughts. You want to wait and see? But the Hexian official has rebelled. The immortal emperor was a little hesitant. He was afraid that this matter would be detrimental to Zuyun. In fact, this was originally the speculation of Shui incarnation and the immortal emperor, but after combining the memories of Zuyun's body, it can be judged that he Xianguan may be plotting a bigger conspiracy. It doesn't matter, Zuyun thought for a moment and said, I have a backup plan in the Imperial City. Does the Imperial City have your backup plan? The Immortal Emperor was puzzled at first, but then his expression changed. You mean, the magical beast carried by the poisonous demon dragon? He remembered that when he was fighting Zuyun, it was in Dian King City that countless magical beasts were attacking the city under the leadership of Xiaolu. That's right, Zuyun laughed and said, I asked the Immortal Emperor for your forgiveness. At that time, you and I were on our own guard. We were afraid that you might do something in the Imperial City, so I had already asked Xiaolu to lead a group of magical beasts. Passing through the Duanxian River, I lurked in the river section of the Imperial City, but I didn't expect that it would turn out to be a shadow. Good. The Immortal Emperor clapped his hands and said, if there are magical beasts in the Imperial City, even if the River Immortal officer finds out, I'm afraid he won't dare to act rashly. His only ability is to control the broken immortal river. But the river water has no control over the magical beasts. A little influence, I think he will be afraid of it. Combined with Zhu Yun's idea of occupying the imperial city first, the immortal emperor's eyes also shone. That's right, Zhu Yun sneered, immortal emperor, you and I are in the same room now, so don't worry. I'll help you capture the imperial city. This is the good news you've been waiting for. Zhu Yun, if the matter in the immortal kingdom can be resolved, I also plan to abdicate. After saying that, he turned to look at Ji Tianqing. Zhu Yun was slightly surprised, but not much. The immortal emperor has already cultivated to the extreme. If he does not ascend to enlightenment, his body will no longer be able to suppress the pseudo-immortal power, and there will be signs of the decline of the five gods and humans. Once the body is weak, it may not be that simple to bear the catastrophe. After thinking about it, Zhu Yun had a plan. Nowadays, there are many people who have been contaminated by the heavenly ways of the universe. While Qingping Fairy Kingdom has not yet completely connected with the great universe world, it will be better to find a way to send some back to the spirit world. For example, Sun Qiniang, apply excess and so on. If the water incarnation knew this, it would definitely not bring them into it. Although it is a little late now, it is not impossible to save. In that case, let's take down King Dawang City first, Zhou Gun. The little one is here. Upon hearing Zhu Yun's call, Zhou Gun immediately squeezed out from behind the crowd. You take City Lord Yu and Deputy City Lord, as well as a group of immortals, to capture King Dawang City. Yes, Master. Zhou Gun immediately retreated, and together with Yu Changkong and Yu Changming, they gathered all the immortals and headed towards King Dawang City. Zhu Yun continued, there will be no more surprises in King Dawang City. Zhou Gun is a top-grade immortal root, and together with the two city lords, we can capture the city and use it as a temporary stronghold. Qiniang, Daegu, Ergu, fellow Daoist Leng and Tu Duduo, and Zhou Pao and all the demon saints, come with me to the imperial city. Zhu Yun, what about me? Ji Tianqing became a little anxious when she heard that she was not responsible. Xiaji, the chicken demon saint stood up at the right time, you are going to become the immortal emperor, why are you going to join in the fun? Stay at the rear. Ji Tianqing smiled bitterly and said, Chicken saint, that's not what you said, Tianqing, you stay here, I will teach you some secrets of the Ji family that can help you break through your immortal roots. Then, wait for the good news from Zhu Yun. As soon as the immortal emperor opened his mouth, Ji Tianqing shut his mouth, but there was a slight reluctance in his eyes. He really wanted to return to the imperial city. That's his home. Okay, it's settled, Zhu Yun smiled and said, when Ergu and fellow Taoist Leng are finished talking, we will set off immediately. Long Wu. Long Wu stood up and saw Zhu Yun pouting in the direction of the spirit stone demon dragon and saying, that's the demon dragon branch, I'll leave it to you. Long Wu grinned, I thought you were joking before, but I didn't expect to find so many demon dragons of the same race for me. Although, they are not pure enough. Don't dislike it, Zhu Yun smiled, took out the dragon head pillar and handed it over, saying, you know what to do. Nature knows. Long Wu also passed directly. Zhu Yun called Lao Jin again and said, the snake demon clan will be left to you. The snake head pillar is still in the crack in the ground. Let's find the snake demon king. Thank you, master. Lao Jin was extremely excited. The 12 tribes had previously synthesized the Destiny ancestral beast, and learned more about the tribe's memories, and knew the purpose of Zhu Yun's move. He was even more excited than when he became the demon king of Dongsheng realm. You guys take a break, Zhu Yun sat down, looked at Sun Qiniang and Tu Duduo, and said, it was my incarnation that brought you in before. Now the incarnation and the main body are merged together, and you know more about this, it's about Fang Tiandi. After we take the imperial city, I will send you out of Qingping Fairy Kingdom. Then Qiniang, could you please go and escort me back to Five Elements sect? Sun Qiniang frowned and said, we came in from the mortal world, and we go out to the spiritual world. Zuyun smiled and said, it must be the spirit world, you have no doubt about that. After such a long time, the evil cultivators who should have come out have all come out and will not stay in Kunlun. The Five Elements sect is close to the outer world, you stay there for a while, and I will come back to find you, how about it? Sun Qiniang's eyes lit up and said, are you going to take action against the evil cultivators? Zuyun glanced at her and said, Qiniang, evil cultivators are not so easy to deal with. I just don't trust you, so I went to find you. At least we are together, and there is still room for maneuver when we encounter evil cultivators. Sun Qiniang disdainfully said, Zuyun, are you afraid of death? Yes, I am afraid of death, Zuyun admitted openly, without a trace of embarrassment, and said, you and Lengbing came here together, you must know the tricks of evil cultivators, right? Even Lengbing, who is in the tribulation crossing stage, is afraid of evil cultivators, not to mention that you are only in the spiritualization stage. Sun Qiniang disagreed and did not take Zuyun's reminder to heart. He has merged the 7 phoenix pearls, and the phoenix fire has a natural restraining effect on evil practitioners. Zuyun instructed to do you again, after you return to the Five Elements sect, practice well, and at the same time, pay attention to Xiaohizi. Xiaohizi. Tu Duyu didn't expect Zuyun to mention him. Well, he secretly learned the skills I taught you, and I even suspect that he stole the elementary books I gave you. This boy is quite scheming. If possible, he can't be left in the Five Elements sect. Tu Duyu immediately nodded in agreement. He was very convinced of his master's words. Zuyun was very satisfied, and gave some detailed instructions on matters to pay attention to, until Ergu and Lengbing finished their discussion and came over. It's time to set off. Zuyun stood up and took out a flying boat. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1445. Everyone boarded the flying boat, and Zuyun left behind a group of demon saints. Let Tu Duyu control the flying boat, and Zuyun sat between Lengbing and Ergo. Did you gain anything? If I understand something, I should be able to figure out the problem of the Yoluo demon art in a few days. Ergo did not hide it. Zuyun was delighted, and bowed to Lengbing and said, thank you, deist fellow Leng. Deist fellow Zhu is too polite, what is the relationship between you and me? Zuyun happily accepted Lengbing's words, and then began to talk to him about the plan after entering the imperial city. At the same time, Lingjian sect. Before Mengwei had time to enter the teleportation array in the misty forest, he returned to Lingjian sect along the original route. Young Palace Master, why did you come back alone? At the bottom of the misty sword cliff, Yezhi was surprised to see Mengwei coming back alone. Mengwei smiled and said, I didn't catch up, so I came back. Yezhi thought for a while and said, how long does the young palace master plan to stay here? I don't know either, Mengwei was actually a little confused. He sat on a stone and looked at the stone pillar in the center of the formation. He said, there is no one left in Yoluo section. I don't want to go to Yasharelm for the time being. Why don't I stay here to practice? That's fine, Yezhi nodded and said, but Yunzo's spiritual energy is poor. Young Palace Master Meng is also a spiritual practitioner now, right? I'm afraid the effect of practice is not good. Mengwei smiled and said, I practice the spirit fire symbiosis art. In fact, as long as the spiritual fire in the body can be strengthened, one's own cultivation will also be improved. But what? Yezhi asked curiously. I still lack some magic skills. How about going around Yunzo? I remember Zuyun told me that there seems to be a Wangxian sect on the way north, where independent cultivators gather. Maybe we can gain something by going there. Wangxian sect, Yezhi also smiled and said, indeed, there are many independent cultivators there, but these independent cultivators are at a lower level. Young Palace Master Meng might as well go there. You mean, Sea City? Meng Wei's eyes lit up. Sea City has now become the largest gathering place for independent cultivators in Yunzhou, and there are also many cultivators in the sea. These cultivators have been fighting sea monsters for many years, and they also have unusual methods. Perhaps we can learn from them. Yes, after Yunzhou was stabilized, the cultivators in the sea area also stationed there, exchanging what they have with the cultivators on land. Young Palace Master may be able to gain something by going there. Great, Meng Wei stood up, smiling, and said, then I'll go now. Young Palace Master Meng, don't worry. Yezhi stopped Meng Wei, took out a talisman from his arms, and said, now that you are in the mortal world, your realm is also limited. If you encounter someone like a sword cultivator, you may still be in danger. At that time, you can crush this talisman, and you can go to help. Meng Wei didn't think he would be in danger, but he also knew that this was Yezhi's good intention, so he couldn't bear to touch it and took it. Thank you. After saying goodbye to Yezhi, Meng Wei left the Lingjian sect and headed south. An hour later, Meng Wei appeared in the Sea City. The tall city wall is quite large. But the mottled marks on the city wall indicate that there had been a fierce battle here. There were sea monsters and the ones caused by Yao Fuzong at that time. It is also a city with a story. Meng Wei chuckled, took out a hat with a veil from the storage bag, and put it on her head lightly. There were good and bad people in the sea city, and she knew that her appearance would cause some trouble. There were guards at the city gate, and after collecting a spirit stone as an entrance fee from Meng Wei, she was allowed to enter the city. The streets in the city looked a bit messy, but there was order in the chaos. Most of the cultivators coming and going were Qi Refining Foundation building, and occasionally a Jindan stage cultivator could be seen passing by, attracting the cultivators nearby to stand quietly on both sides, and only cast envious eyes after the other party left. Meng Wei had just arrived in the city, and looked around with interest. The hawking and bargaining sounds were endless, and it was very lively. The shops on both sides and the street vendors did not interfere with each other, and Meng Wei was very interested in watching. As she walked forward, she suddenly heard a noisy sound. The Black Sea Ferry has appeared again, everyone go and see. Meng Wei looked back and found that several male cultivators, all of whom were in the foundation building stage, ran forward with excited expressions. Because of their calls, some street vendors even stopped doing business, rolled up the things on the ground, and followed them. Not only that, there were also many male cultivators running out of the shops, with the same expression. Meng Wei immediately became interested. Black Sea Ferry? Is she a cultivator in the sea? Seeing that these people reacted so strongly, it would be okay to go and see the excitement. Meng Wei followed into the crowd and walked slowly towards the city. From time to time, there were cultivators who surpassed her around her, and it was simply a grand scene of thousands of people emptying the streets. Gradually, Meng Wei also found many Jindan cultivators, who also joined them. She couldn't help wondering what kind of magic this Black Sea Ferry had. You know, not long after entering the city, ordinary cultivators were extremely respectful when they saw Jindan cultivators, and they kept a certain distance. Now, these cultivators, there is no difference, just like ordinary people going to the market. There is no difference in identity and status. Meng Wei was a little cautious and slowed down her pace again. She planned to ask some slower cultivators for information. After walking for a while, the pace slowed down because there were so many people. Several Qi-refining cultivators also appeared beside Meng Wei. She tilted her head slightly and asked politely, My fellow Taoist, I'm new to this city. What's the background of the Black Sea Fairy? Why are you so excited and flocking to her? The cultivator was impatient at first, but when he heard Mengwe's heavenly voice, he quickly put away his expression and said with a smile, the fairy is a female cultivator, so she naturally wouldn't be interested in the Black Sea Fairy. Mengwe was curious and asked, why, is the Black Sea Fairy here to choose a Taoist partner? Yes and no. The chi-refining cultivator smiled and said, everyone came here, wanting to be the lucky one favored by the Black Sea Fairy, so that she can accompany her into the sea. Since the Black Sea Fairy appeared in the sea city, every time she appeared, she would choose a male cultivator as her guide to take her into the sea to search for treasures. However, only one person is selected each time, and it doesn't depend on the realm of cultivation, but only on the familiarity with the sea. Fairy, think about it, the principle of being close to the water and getting the moon first. Mengwe immediately understood, and it was probably that the Black Sea Fairy wanted to go into the sea to search for treasures. It's just that these male cultivators were attracted by the appearance of the Black Sea Fairy. The Black Sea Fairy must be extremely beautiful, so what is her realm? Not very high, said the young chi-refining cultivator. Ordinary people can't see through the Black Sea Fairy's realm, but some people speculate that she should be at least in the foundation establishment stage. Mengwe vaguely discovered that something was wrong, but at this moment, the crowd stopped and could no longer move forward. Just as she tiptoed slightly and looked straight ahead, a familiar voice came over. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1446. It's her. Seeing the man's appearance, Mengwe's face suddenly changed. His first reaction was to squeeze out of the crowd and head back the way he came, intending to leave the sea city. But at this time, everyone stopped where they were, with a crazy look on their faces, and Mengwe seemed a little abrupt. Nujiao quickly cast her eyes over. My! She wanted to say something but stopped, and Nujiao's heart suddenly became ferocious. Who would have thought that she would trick a helper from the sea city to take out the magic knife from the bottom of the sea? But she didn't expect to run into Mengwe. In comparison, Mengwe is far more important than the magic knife. With just one glance, she confirmed Mengwe's identity in the crowd. But at the same time, she felt that Mengwe's aura was much stronger than hers. Don't move rashly. Nujiao's heart was surging, and she rarely kept calm. She knew that if she went up, she would definitely suffer a loss. In this case, she could only watch Mengwe retreat from the crowd and leave the sea city. But after finally meeting him, how could she let Mengwe leave like this? The mortal world is so big, and there is also the spiritual world above it. Looking for Mengwe is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Looking at these crazy male cultivators below, Nujiao immediately had a plan in her mind. Fellow Taoists, you must be wondering why I came to the Sea Region city to find someone to help me. As soon as these words came out, the whole audience suddenly became quiet. Actually, I have a twin sister. I came here from Chuzhou by boat a few years ago, but I never thought that my sister fell into the sea and was finally pushed away by the waves. So, I have been looking for someone to help me go out to sea to search for her, but I didn't expect that. I just felt my sister's breath. We are twins. There is an inexplicable feeling in my heart. I feel that she is within 100 miles of the sea city. I beg you fellow Taoists to help me. If anyone finds my sister, I am willing to marry her. Nujiao's appearance is exactly the same as Mengwe's. In other words, they are the same person. Some kind of change has occurred because of the shattering of Daoliuli mirror. Now, Nu Jiao uses this reason to fool these male cultivators who are ignorant and blinded by lust, which is naturally very useful. Sure enough, everyone went crazy when they heard the 4 words "marry her." There is no need to worry about finding the wrong person, as long as he looks exactly like Nu Jiao. Don't worry, Black Sea Fairy, we will definitely help. Yes, helping others is the foundation of our Yunzo. Zhu Xian helped us rebuild the immortal path back then. Yes, Zhu Xian is like this, so we don't need to say anything more. A group of people, with high-sounding words but smart minds, have already run out of the city. It seems that there are no useful clues. But the 100 miles around is already the most important clue. Whoever is one step faster, plus some luck, can definitely find the sister of Black Sea Fairy first. When they think of the Black Sea Fairy's every frown and smile, they are extremely excited. At this time, Meng Wei has already left the city. In order to avoid attracting other people's attention, she did not walk fast. Even if she left the city, she did not fly. She was afraid that when she flew, the wind would blow up her veil, revealing her face to those who were interested. This person in her dream has 100 responses in the Sea City, and Meng Wei has not thought of a countermeasure yet. The best way now is to return to the Spirit Sword sect and then hide in the Misty Sword Cliff. Under the restrictions of the Heavenly Dao, with her and Yezi's realm, ordinary cultivators are afraid that they will not be their opponents. Or, Meng Wei will go south again, bypass the sea area city to the Misty Forest, and wait for Zhu Yun and others to come back in the teleportation array. But in comparison, Meng Wei will still choose the Spirit Sword sect. Because there are more people, it feels safer. The Spirit Sword sect is now famous in Yunzhou and is a famous and upright sect that holds the head. But it happens that it is within 100 miles of the sea area city. Not long after walking, Meng Wei found that many cultivators flew from behind her. Whenever they passed by, they would stop in the air and take a closer look. Meng Wei also released her breath intentionally or unintentionally. Even if she came to the Jindan stage, she could not use her spiritual sense to detect her face. It saved a lot of trouble. No matter what these cultivators thought, they probably couldn't imagine that the twin sister mentioned by Nu Jiao had already broken through the nascent soul stage. Meng Wei forced herself to stay calm, but she was a little nervous. But as she got closer and closer to the Lingjian sect, she gradually put her mind at ease. But unexpectedly, an accident still happened. Several Jindan cultivators suddenly landed in the town of Lingjian sect. Fellow Daoist Qin, go to Lingjian sect to ask if there are any female cultivators. A middle-aged male cultivator said, instructing someone. I'll go to Lingjian sect to ask, and you guys can look around this town. The Jindan cultivator surnamed Qin said. Yes, I heard from some younger generations that they saw a masked female cultivator with unpredictable strength coming here. It's possible that she has joined the Lingjian sect. So that's it, everyone nodded and moved separately. The leading Jindan stage was guarding the Lingjian sect's mountain gate trail, which made Meng Wei unable to stop or leave. But she took off her veil after entering the town. Hearing the conversation between the other party and others, she couldn't help but frown. To be honest, she could easily kill these Jindan stage. But the problem is that her position has been exposed. She has a fear of Nu Jiao since she was a child, which comes from the bottom of her heart. If she leaves Lingjian sect, she will be more dangerous if she is alone. After thinking about it, Meng Wei decided to drive these Jindan stage away first. Thinking of this, Meng Wei flashed and teleported directly into Lingjian sect. The spiritual power fluctuation came and immediately attracted the attention of the Jindan cultivator. However, he was in the spiritual world, like a frog in the well, and he could not guess that Meng Wei would be a cultivator above Yuanying. The situation has changed, maybe. His face was cold, but he could not find anyone. She used some mysterious escape technique and hid in Lingjian sect. The Jindan sage thought that such a big commotion in the sea city would definitely alarm the sister of the Black Sea Fairy. And he guessed that the Black Sea Fairy could not find her sister, and there must be a hidden story behind it, which was not that simple. Presumably, her sister didn't want to be found by the Black Sea Fairy. But when he thought of Nu Jiao's peerless beauty, this Jindan sage couldn't help himself. Go back and inform the Black Sea Fairy, and tell her that we found her sister here. After pondering in his heart, this Jindan sage no longer cared about his companions. He wanted to take the credit for himself, so he stepped into the air and flew at full speed towards the direction of the sea city. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1447. You said, my sister is in the Spirit Sword sect. When Nu Jiao heard this news, she was delighted. She chased the demon beast into the sea in the spirit world, and followed her own induction to the sea area of Yunzhou. The demon beast finally died, but the demon knife was also pressed under the seabed by the demon beast. These days, she has been looking for a suitable cultivator in the sea city, wanting her to help turn the demon knife out from under the seabed. She didn't want to lose her realm again. It was not easy to recover to the peak of foundation building. If it continued to lose, I'm afraid she would only be in the qi refining stage. This was not what she wanted to see, so she thought of finding some scapegoats to help her go into the water. But she didn't expect to find Mengwei here by accident. Yes, Black Sea Fairy, how could I lie to you? At that time, I glanced at her with my spiritual sense and found that her face was exactly the same as yours, but she seemed to have noticed it, so she hurried back to the Spirit Sword sect. This Jindan stage was also half-truthful, and the purpose was also to leave a deeper impression on Nu Jiao. If he didn't find it in the end, at most he would have wasted a little time. Senior, thank you so much, Nu Jiao said happily, then please take me there, how about it? Of course, I came back to inform you in person just to take you there. Hearing Nu Jiao's tender request, the Jindan cultivator was overjoyed, and took out a magic weapon from the storage bag, motioning Nu Jiao to come up. But he didn't expect that just as he was about to take Nu Jiao up with the weapon, he felt a sharp pain in his lower abdomen. Nu Jiao's 2 fingers, with extremely pure demonic energy, had already stabbed into his lower abdomen. You. The Jindan period turned around unbelievably, and the demonic energy completely entangled her Danshan, making it impossible for him to control the spiritual power in his body, let alone control his magic weapon. In this case, how could she still be Nu Jiao's opponent? In just a few breaths, this Jindan period was dead. You dare to covet me? Nu Jiao sneered and took her hand back. Although she was only in the foundation building stage, her body was that of a holy demon. The physical talents of the demon cultivators were incomparable to those of the human race. After killing the cultivator, Nu Jiao searched his body for a while and stuffed everything into her storage bag. Then, she took his magic weapon and dripped her own magic blood on it, making it an ordinary magic weapon. It can be considered that there is something to use. The magic weapons of those little cultivators were all rubbish. This magic weapon can be used. Nu Jiao threw the demonized magic weapon out, and then stepped on it and began to fly. After half an hour, she also arrived at the foot of the Lingjian sect. Looking up, she heard the sound of fighting in the Lingjian sect. Through the fluctuations of spiritual power, Nu Jiao recognized that there was a Jindan stage. She didn't know that it was the companions of the Jindan stage who had been killed before who broke into the sect, thus causing dissatisfaction in the Lingjian sect. These 2 Jindan stage, relying on their high strength and realm, wanted to force their way into the Lingjian sect. Unexpectedly, the Lingjian sect took a tough attitude and did not give face to the other party because they were in the Jindan stage, so a conflict arose. At this time, Yezhi stood at the gate of the mountain, looking cold and stern. Many ordinary disciples were injured, and the two Jindan stage disciples were more or less restrained and did not dare to kill. Yezhi did not reveal his realm, but just held the sword to fight. If he wanted to take action, he could separate the bodies of these two people in a breath of time. I will say one last thing: anyone who trespasses into the Lingjian sect, no matter what realm he is in, will die. As an elder of the Lingjian sect and a sword cultivator, Yezhi could not make the two Jindan stage disciples move without deliberately revealing their realm. The one standing in front of them was actually a Yuanying stage. But the two men, who were tempted by beauty and whose minds were full of the face of the slave, were not afraid at all. The cultivator surnamed Qin said, "Daiyu, Lingjian sect is strong, but we just want to see the true face of the fairy. Could it be that Lingjian sect is so domineering now that it is so powerful? If so, what is the difference between the current Lingjian sect and the previous Lingjian sect?" The two Jindan stage cultivators were both native cultivators of Yunzhou, and naturally knew what the Lingjian sect was like in the past. And this statement just hit the soft spot of the current Lingjian sect. Yezhi frowned, thought about it, and waved to the side. Yu Yulin came up. "Deputy Sect Master Yu, can you ask the young palace master what he means?" Yezhi met Mengwei coming back, but he didn't talk to her, so he didn't know what Mengwei had experienced. When the two Jindan stage cultivators came, they said they wanted to find the female cultivator who had just returned to Lingjian section. There was no one else except Mengwei. Elder Ye, Yu Yulin seemed honest, but actually became much smarter after becoming the deputy sect leader. He said, "Young palace master Meng is not from our Lingjian sect." Yezhi was stunned, and suddenly realized, pointed his sword, and said sternly, "There is a female cultivator, but that fairy is not from the Lingjian sect, we can't move her." This was equivalent to an order to expel the guests, and the faces of the two Jindan stage cultivators also became gloomy. They looked at each other and exchanged glances. Suddenly, the two of them attacked together and rushed towards Yezhi, looking for death. Yezhi sneered and shouted, "A mere Jindan stage cultivator dares to attack a Yuanying stage sword cultivator? You must be tired of living." As soon as the voice fell, the heads of the two Jindan stage cultivators flew up immediately. Blood gushed out like a fountain, spraying all over the ground. Two Jindan stage cultivators still had some consciousness, their faces were full of disbelief. This sword cultivator was actually in the Yuanying stage. But it was too late to regret. The soul dissipated, and he died with his eyes open. Yezhi put away his spiritual sword, and then said to Yu Yulin, "Suddenly, two Jindan stage cultivators came to find Master Meng. Now they are dead, why not let Master Meng come and recognize them, but what trouble did they cause?" Yu Yulin bowed repeatedly in response, and ran to the Magian cliff in person. At the foot of the mountain, feeling the spiritual power dissipating, Nujiao suddenly had an idea in her mind. After a moment of hesitation, she tore a piece of cloth from her sleeves, covered the lower half of her face, and then slowly rushed towards the Lingjian sect. And Mengwei, after meeting Yu Yulin, learned what happened at the mountain gate. After thinking about it, she decided to go and talk to Yezhi in person. Just as she stood in front of Yezhi and said that she didn't know the two Jindan stage masters, she suddenly discovered something and looked outside the mountain gate. This time, she happened to meet Nujiao's eyes. Mengwei was like a demon, and his mind was lost in Nujiao's eyes. "Young Master Meng, what's wrong with you?" Yezhi found something wrong, exclaimed, and hurriedly looked in the direction of Mengwei's eyes. In an instant, he also saw Nujiao. He also saw a pair of eyes like the abyss. "Who are you?" Yezhi suddenly regained his mind and shouted loudly. "Me? I am Mengwei." Nujiao smiled charmingly and pulled off her veil. "I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1448. For a moment, everyone in the Lingjian sect was stunned. It's not like they haven't seen people who look exactly the same, but monks have spiritual sense and can still detect differences to some extent. But looking at Nujiao at this moment, although her expressions are different, the feeling given to them seems to be exactly the same. While they were stunned, Nujiao's body suddenly turned into a shadow, and then directly integrated into Menghui's body. Then, he seemed to have lost consciousness and his body collapsed to the ground. A group of people looked at each other in confusion, but Yezhi reacted faster and ordered, "Sect Master Zhou, bring Master Meng Xiao to the room." Only then did Zhou Ruyu come back to his senses. According to Yezhi's words, he used his spiritual power to take the body to the mansion behind the sect master's palace. Yezhi also followed. "Elder Ye, what is going on?" Zhou Ruyu is too ignorant and doesn't know why this is the case. Yezhi frowned and said, "If there is a condensed incarnation in the divine transformation stage, maybe it is an incarnation of Master Meng Xiao. There should be some twists and turns in the process that we can't understand, but since it can be integrated into one, it shouldn't be. What's the problem?" "I don't understand either." "Elder Ye, if you say it's okay, then it should be okay." Zhou Ruyu let out a long sigh of relief. "You just watch here. I'm guarding at the gate of the mountain. The previous pill-forming periods came to cause trouble. I don't know if there will be another pill-forming period coming in the future." Yezhi stood up and said goodbye. The Lingjian sect did not have any masters in the Dan formation stage, but those with better talents were sent to the 7-star gate in the East Victory realm. Now, the only one sitting here is Yezhi. Thinking back to those days when the Dan formation stage dared to bully others, who knows what will happen next. Yezhi also had only a partial understanding of Menghui's situation, so he thought about waiting until Zuyun came back. As everyone knows, a fierce battle is going on in Menghui's body at this time. If Nujiao wins, then the saint of the Holy Demon clan will be back. If Menghui wins, this saint, it ceases to exist. But even Yezhi couldn't figure out why, let alone the other people in the Lingjian sect. At the same time, in Qingping Fairy Kingdom, Zuyun and others finally arrived at the Imperial City. The flying boat was somewhat conspicuous, and was discovered by the Great Knight Immortal King before it entered the Imperial City. Congratulations to fellow Taoist. When he saw Zuyunzi, the Great Knight Immortal King was surprised and happy. To his surprise, the Immortal Emperor was not there. Fortunately, when Zuyun comes, the Imperial City has a new hero to support him. King Yesyen, long time no see. This Imperial City. He looked around. The Great Knight Immortal King was here, so there must be no other Immortal King. The Imperial City is currently under my control, the Immortal King said straight to the point. Where is the Immortal Emperor? Didn't he leave with you? After hearing the first half of the sentence, Zuyun relaxed a lot and said with a smile, the Immortal Emperor is fine. Now I will arrange for him to stay in King Dawang City. Dawangguang City, I wish you the best, then Ludong City. Seeing the change of expression of the Great Knight Immortal King, Zuyun also interrupted with a smile and said, I already know the matter about the Immortal Kingdom. Ludong City has died in my hands. In addition, Deu, Darren, and other immortals the king has also been killed by me. Hearing this news, the Great Knight Immortal King couldn't help but open his mouth. 15 immortal kings joined forces to rebel, and 5 of them died in Zuyun's hands. Among them is Nakdong Castle, which is famous for its depth. Is this true? The voice of the Great Knight Immortal King became trembling. It has both strong reinforcements and weakened opponents. This is undoubtedly great news. I don't need to lie to you, Zuyun laughed loudly and said, I already understand the situation here. The reason why I brought a group of people here is actually to wait and see with you. A group of immortal kings, want to in the middle of the fight for the immortal emperor, as long as we deal with it well, it would be good to let them fight each other first. The great knight Immortal King immediately said, "Bless you fellow Taoist, come into the palace and tell us in detail." Good. Under the leadership of the great knight Immortal King, a group of people appeared in the palace hall. The two chatted happily, and it could be said that they both learned good news from each other. The matter of Qingping Fairy Kingdom might be resolved soon, and Zuyun naturally became much more relaxed. "Yeah, Immortal King, you once told me that Yan Immortal King is also a confidant of the Immortal Emperor. Why is he not here when you are in the Imperial City?" The great knight Immortal King looked embarrassed, sighed, and said, "Friend Zudeo, before you came, I lived in fear every day, for fear that one day I would face a powerful enemy. Among all the immortal kings, my strength is not the same. Not too strong, but I rushed over quickly after learning that something happened in the Imperial City. I was still on the way with a group of close followers. But fortunately, City Lord Shui brought good news, so King Yangxian came to Shui. With the help of the City Lord, we went to bring in reinforcements." "Help? Are there any reinforcements available in the Immortal Kingdom?" "Of course there is." The Immortal King put away his expression and said seriously, "I heard Yangxian King say that fellow Taoist Zhu had had a confrontation with him, right? Then he should have seen Yangxian King's immortal roots." Zhu Yun's heart moved, and he vaguely guessed something. "Have you found the demonic Dragon Valley?" This time it was the Immortal King's turn to be surprised. "I wish fellow Taoist, good luck." Zuyun was even more shocked. "What I want to know is, what method did City Master Shui use to send King Yangxian there?" "It is to use the Immortal Emperor's teleportation array. After an accident occurred in this array, City Lord Shui said that he could change the use of this array and teleport to the Demon Dragon Valley. And now, if there is no accident, Yangxian King must be in the Demon Dragon Valley." "It's in the valley." Zuyun said in shock. "Then, where is City Lord Shui?" "City Lord Shui is very exhausted and is in a coma. When he wakes up, he can continue to activate this formation and open a passage for King Yangxian to come back with the demon dragon to help me and others." "Is that why you're so worried?" Zuyun narrowed his eyes, because he knew that there was another traitor in the Imperial City, namely official Hexian. But the great knight Immortal King didn't mention it, and he wouldn't take the initiative to say it, so as not to surprise the great knight Immortal King and spoil the matter. "Yes," the great knight Immortal King smiled bitterly, "I'm afraid that the Immortal King will attack the city at any time. The last time he attacked the city, almost all of the Immortal King's men were dead. Now the people in the Imperial City are panic-stricken. In fact, it's not too much to say that they are just helpless people. I don't want to embarrass them, I just want to hold on to the palace until King Yangxian comes back." Zuyun smiled slightly and said, "Now that I'm here and I've brought a lot of good hands with me, King Yesian can rest assured. If nothing else, I can at least wait until your reinforcements arrive. I certainly believe in the ability of fellow Taoist Zhu." The great knight Immortal King said immediately. "This is Sun Qiniang, swordsman. This is Leng Bing, a demon cultivator. This is Meng Beishi, sword cultivator. This is Zhou Huanghua, sword cultivator." Zuyun introduced them one by one, and the great knight Immortal King was also elated. Sword cultivator, he had heard from the Immortal Emperor that sword cultivators in the spiritual world were very powerful. In the Qingping Fairy Kingdom, the legend of the sword immortal spreads even more, but later on the sword cultivator did not know where he went. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1449. Zuyun went to see City Lord Shui, and unexpectedly met Shui Liason. "Are you Zuyun?" Shui Liason was very surprised. At that time, Zuyun was brought here by Shui Xian to apply for the city guard job. In fact, it was to escape the pursuit of the great wrong immortal king. Who would have thought that as time passed, Zuyun would have a very happy conversation with the great knight immortal king. This made Xue Liason unable to react. Captain Xue, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hide it. I just came to the fairyland for the first time and had no choice but to do it. It doesn't matter, Xue Liason smiled and said, now we just need to deal with those traitors. Zuyun nodded and said, Inspector Xue, the others, and Chief Xue, do you know how the current situation is? After he went to Duxian town, there was no contact again. Zuyun originally wanted to inquire about Xuexian, and then go to Luo Xiaoyu. Luo Dongcheng begged him to let his daughter go, but Zuyun at least wanted to understand Luo Xiaoyu's purpose first. On the surface, Luo Xiaoyu had no problems. But she had a father who was so scheming that Zuyun had to pay attention. If we just left Qingping Fairyland, everything would be fine. Is there any small move? Zuyun will definitely not let her go. Friend Zhu, are you looking for someone from Duxian town? At this time, the great knight immortal king suddenly spoke. Naturally, Zuyun would not explain these matters clearly to the great knight immortal king, so he just smiled and said, well, I'm an old friend of Duxian town. The people from Duxian town are also here this time, and all the immortals there should be on their way. Zuyun was stunned for a moment, then realized that after the death of immortal King Derong, the immortal emperor asked immortal King Day to temporarily take charge of this area of King Derong city. That's great. Then we can see those old friends. Zuyun was overjoyed and didn't know if Shan Peng and Shan Hao were coming. These people are still trustworthy and will make things easier for him in the future. After talking for a while, Zuyun took his leave. After settling the rest of the people with the great knight immortal king, he walked towards the Duanxian river. The monster in the river is one of his current trump cards, and Zuyun doesn't want anyone to know. But as soon as he walked out of the palace, Zuyun realized that he was being followed. After a moment of composure, he said in a deep voice, fellow deist Leng. Hey, I didn't expect to be discovered by you. Leng Bing took the thorn demon and turned out from a street corner. What are you following me for? Zuyun looked unhappy. I wish you, fellow Taoist, don't be offended. The thorn demon told me that there was demonic energy in the river, and I felt it, so I became curious and wanted to come and take a look. Zuyun gave the thorn demon a meaningful look and said, has it told you what will happen if it finds those monsters? This. Seeing Leng Bing hesitate to speak, Zuyun guessed a bit, and simply did not hide it, saying, the monsters here are not real ancient monsters, and they are of great use to me, whether it is you or, thorn demons, don't take advantage of them. So it was arranged by you, fellow Taoist Zhu. Leng Bing suddenly understood, then apologized, and said, I thought it was a monster lurking here. I was afraid of doing something bad, so I followed it. I was also wondering why I was on the same road as Zhu Daiyu. I also hope fellow deist Leng won't misunderstand me. This thorn demon, maybe not that simple. I wish fellow Taoist to rest assured that the thorn demon is under my control. Leng has learned the method of controlling the beast and has completely controlled the thorn demon. Although it has its own ideas, it cannot escape from me. Leng Bing pointed to his temple. That's very good. Zuyun nodded and issued the eviction order, then please invite fellow deist Leng to return. If you have time, you can communicate with Ergumor. I would like to thank you very much. Easy to say. After giving it up coldly, just leave. Zuyun didn't move for a long time. It wasn't until the thorn demon left that he began to meditate. This thorn demon may not be that simple. It seems that he is controlled by Leng Bing, but who knows if this is intentional by the thorn demon. After all, the snake demon king also said that the extraterrestrial demon is not that simple. After putting this thought in his heart, Zuyun finally arrived at the Duanxian River. The rolling river water comes from the mountains. Compared with last time, the river water seems to have become clearer. The change in the yellow sand should be caused by the Qingping immortal kingdom being sucked into the universe. But now that the yellow sand is still there must be something wrong. I don't know if it can still pass through the broken immortal river. The immortal roots of the immortals cannot be corroded. Zuyun did not deliberately go to Xianxia. Unexpectedly, when Xianxia found Zhu Yunjing standing here, he became extremely cautious. When Zhu Yun entered the city, he discovered that he had a very happy conversation with the great knight immortal king, and he also saw it. Now, seeing Zhu Yun standing by the Duanxian river, he actually became a little nervous. What does this kid want to do? Official Xian murmured but did not make any move. But suddenly, his expression changed. Zhu Yun jumped up and jumped straight into the Duanxian river. Damn it, there are monsters in the river. What if he gets into a fight with these monsters? After discovering Warcraft last time, Xianxia has already regarded the Warcraft group as one of his trump cards. It's not that he has the ability to control beasts, but he thought that if an accident happened, he would use his immortal root to throw all the monsters in the broken immortal river to the shore. At that time, there will definitely be chaos in the Imperial City, and he will have an opportunity to take advantage of it. But now, Zhu Yun has entered the river. What should I do? The river ferry officer paced back and forth, trying to find a solution, but for a long time, he didn't see any movement in the broken immortal river. Then he realized that Zhu Yun should not have encountered any monsters. He hurriedly used his immortal root to check the situation in the river, but found that Zhu Yun was actually flowing upstream along the river. The broken immortal river flows out of the mountain, not a stream, but the part in the mountain is an underground river. While he was stunned, Zhu Yun had already sneaked into the underground river. No, this underground river leads to somewhere else, although I don't know how the demon dragons there will treat foreign humans. If a demon dragon appears, the consequences may be disastrous. Xianxia was extremely anxious, but limited by his own strength, he decided to implement the plan in advance. Thinking of this, he took out a fairy talisman from his arms, and after passing the pseudo-immortal power, he whispered in a deep voice. The situation has changed. You can join forces to attack the Imperial City. Where is this? Zhu Yun has been swimming along the underground river. At first, he entered a dark place. He knew that he must be under the mountain. But suddenly, the riverbed went up, the riverbed became shallower, and the water quality became clear. This allowed him to see the situation on the water surface clearly, and he thought he had come to the Kunlun Canyon. But then he thought, the section of the Kunlun Canyon no longer existed, so where did he appear? With such doubts, Zhu Yun popped his head out from the bottom of the water. He found himself in a place that looked like a fairyland. Just when he was about to stand up, countless terrifying demonic auras suddenly locked onto him. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1450. Zhu Yun could feel the amount of demonic energy, but what frightened him even more was that these demonic energies were connected together, like a big mountain, trying to push him back into the water. Let's avoid the edge for now. Zhu Yun was afraid that he would be injured, so he immediately made a decision and dived into the water. After thinking for a while, he condensed a water incarnation and quickly escaped into the distance. Sure enough, just one breath later, the 10,000 evil spirits passed through the water again and locked on Zhu Yun. I don't know if it was because of the water of Duanxian River, but these demonic energies did not continue to oppress him. It seemed that they just suppressed him in the water. A mile upstream, the water incarnation still used the water escape technique and quietly appeared. The entire incarnation blended into the river water and did not attract any evil spirit. Water incarnation carefully inspected the surroundings and found that this place was a valley, but it was completely different from the Kunlun Canyon. the Duanshan River came from afar and divided the valley into two. Ahead was what he saw at first, a place that looked like a fairyland. But behind him, there is the yellow sand and desert, like a dead place. The two opposite scenes made Shuiji couldn't help but be stunned, and he even felt that there must be a secret hidden in the valley here. At the same time, the main body is not far away, and what the water incarnation sees is just like what Zuyun sees. Where does the demonic energy come from? We can solve this problem later when we see the demon cultivator and take out the totem pole. Zuyun was cautious and let the water avatar continue to observe the front. According to his guess, the monster should come out of the mountain forest. In fact, there is no need to guess, the yellow sand gobi is not like a place where you can survive and hide monsters. Only those lush and green trees with towering ancient trees could allow monsters to hide in them. But who would have thought that it wouldn't be long? There was a rumble in the yellow sand. The water incarnation quickly turned around and saw outlines of black monsters appearing in the yellow sand in the sky, slowly coming towards here. This. Feeling that the pressure of the demonic energy was gradually increasing, Zuyun was also in disbelief. The water incarnation also quickly turned around and continued to stare at Xianxia. As the monsters moved forward, their outlines became more and more obvious. The wide range of the arrangement of monsters also made the water incarnation extremely amazed. If it weren't for the totem pole with him, Zuyun would have wished to go back along the original route and return to the imperial city at this time. But soon, Zuyun regretted it. The outline was completely revealed, and those evil spirits became even more solemn. Although they did not continue to pressure Zuyun, they turned into ropes, suddenly binding Zuyun in the water and unable to move. Immediately afterwards, the sounds of dragon roars came one after another. The demonic dragon clan. Zuyun was shocked. I was surprised that this was the demon dragon clan, and even more so because the dragon head pillar was given to Longwu but was not brought over. What a good thing. Zuyunqiang calmed himself and let the water incarnation quietly lurk under the water to avoid being discovered by those demonic dragons. He was still holding on to some luck, hoping that these demonic dragons would not harm him. But what the water avatar saw quickly dashed his hopes. The various demonic dragons that came out of the yellow sand had their eyes glowing red. They were clearly demonic dragons that were possessed by demonic energy. It's over now. Zuyun began to struggle. But even though his methods are all-powerful, he is still only in the stage of becoming a god, and his level of spiritual power is simply incapable of breaking free from the shackles of the demonic energy. No way, we can only let the water incarnate and take the dragon whip. Zuyun gritted his teeth, and with a thought, he took the dragon whip from the storage ring. The water incarnation arrived just in time, holding the dragon whip tightly, trying to fight off these demonic powers. Snap! 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 The dragon beating whip hit the demonic energy repeatedly, but it had no effect. Zuyun was whipped several times by his own clone. This is not possible, I can only let the incarnation protect me. Zuyun regretted it, but fortunately, after those demonic dragons rushed to the river, they just roared and did not enter the water. Seeing this, Zuyun did not let the water avatar appear, but decided to wait and see what happened. I don't know why the demon dragon is afraid of the water of the Duanshan River. After about a while of touching a stick of incense, the sound of a dragon's roar suddenly sounded on this side of the mountain forest. It was high-pitched and long, with a faint meaning of awakening. And the demon dragon. Zuyun was stunned for a moment, and then suddenly realized. This is the demonic dragon valley. No matter what, he never imagined that the demonic dragon valley would be in the valley upstream of the Duanshan River. Originally, I heard the great knight Immortal King say that City Lord Shui had found the location of the demonic dragon valley, and had changed the teleportation array under the Immortal Emperor's bedroom, and the consumption was so large that it would be in a very far place. But I didn't expect that it was only more than an hour away from the imperial city. This is a bit too mysterious. But when I thought about it again, it seemed normal. Immortals are not allowed to enter the Duansien River. Even if they have a special method that allows them to enter it temporarily, who would have thought that the upstream is where the demonic dragon valley is? Here are the demonized demon dragons, and over there are the awake demon dragons. I hope these demon dragons can help me get out of my troubles here. Zuyun secretly thought, let the water incarnation continue to guard here, until the sound of dragon roars on that side began to get closer, and he slowly became a little excited in his heart. The ground began to shake, and the demonized dragon began to become frantic with the arrival of its kind, roaring and stamping on the ground. Pieces of yellow sand fell into the Duansien River and were carried away by the current. Did this yellow sand come from demonic Dragon Valley? Zuyun took a closer look, but at this time, this question had no meaning. Finally, the demon dragon here also arrived at the riverside, and at the same time, he heard a familiar voice. Immortal King Dian said, Dragon King, this time the time has not come yet. Why are these demonic dragons gathering here? The demon dragon king said in a deep voice, it should be that a guest broke in here. What? Immortal King Dian was shocked and said, where is it? Why don't I know? The dragon king chuckled lightly and said, of course you don't know, he is hiding in the broken immortal river. Immortal King Dian's expression suddenly changed, the immortal roots on his forehead lit up, and the pseudo-immortal power in the air quickly condensed, forming a golden dragon shadow in front of him. Just when he was about to take action, the Dragon King suddenly shouted with a sound, the golden dragon's shadow dispersed. Dragon King, why is this? Seeing that he was stopped, Immortal King Dian asked in confusion. That man seems to be destined to our demonic dragon clan. Not only does he carry the aura of the demonic dragon clan, but he also carries the aura of destiny. Zuyun smiled bitterly, then let the water incarnate jump out and stood on the river bank. Dragon Demon King, nice to meet you. King Xianxia, come and be fine. Dian Immortal King stared, Zuyun, how did you find this demonic dragon valley? The water incarnation waved his hand and said, I swam along the Duansien River, let's talk about this later. Then, he looked at the Dragon Demon King and said, Dragon Demon King, is there any way to untie the demonic energy from my body? The Dragon Demon King first bowed his hands in greeting, and then said calmly, I'm sorry, fellow Taoist Zhu, please forgive me, old dragon, I can't do anything.